friends, and welcome to Happy Brain, Happy Life. My name is Dr. Myrelis Aponte, Dr. Mimi for many of you. And you know what? I am so excited because this series that we're talking about in the next couple of shows is going to be all about nurturing your brain. Yes, we need to nurture our brain to improve the way we think, feel, and act. And so everything that's thought related and emotion related and behavior related, everything starts with your brain. And so if we keep a nourished, healthy brain, we will certainly have the effects that we want on better thinking, managing significantly better our emotions, and more than anything, being able to behave the way that we want. So, acting in the direction of our dreams, in the direction of great relationships and a happy life. So let's get started today. I have, certainly nutrition is key, right? A healthy diet, we've heard it everywhere. We're always talking about the right weight, the right this, the right that. And we have so many options, but it is certainly key that a healthy diet includes nutrient dense foods, which means fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, these are all things that can provide our vitamins, our minerals, and other nutrients that we really need for our brain to function properly. Okay, so certainly nutrition is playing a big role in our brain health and function. Now, here are going to be 7 reasons why we should, consider our nutrition, how this plays a role in our functionality. And let's start with something very simple. When I look at my girls, I have 2 girls, and I think about one of the first things that us as parents think is about their development, right? So brain development requires proper nutrition. Now, I love it because breast milk is like the best optimal nutrition for our babies, and most of all for our babies' brain health. And if you look at what breast milk contains, it's mainly healthy protein, right? Healthy fats that keep that brain really connecting the neurons to each other. So you want to make sure that your nutrition is proper, not only through, that early childhood, but also through adolescence, which contains a big game of changes in the hormones and changes in the neurotransmitters. And so it is essential for optimal brain development. Now, adequate intake of those essential nutrients, such as, for example, omega-3 fatty acids, iron, zinc, and vitamins, particularly vitamin B and vitamin D, are the ones that, optimize the way our neurons are connecting. And not only that, but how they're passing information from one neuron to another, right? How that system and the structures are growing within the body. So even though you're you're probably an adult looking at this show right now, let me tell you something. It is impacted the way you grew up and the way your brain health was, how your brain was given the proper nutrition throughout your development. Now, good thing, the brain still developing all the way to age 25. So if you're thinking that 18 years old is an mature adult, go live your life, let me tell you something. Those young people are very far away from where a mature brain is like. So let's consider what we are doing with it. And the best is to prepare it, right? Prepare it to have adequate thinking, emotion, and behaviors by giving the proper nutrition ahead of time, right? So let's not wait until we're having issues. Let's make sure that the system is working properly by creating great healthy habits and nutritional support, including the minerals, the all the structures, that everything that we need within the brain is getting fulfilled. And honestly, there's plenty of research to support the need for that great health. Now, I personally have my own issues with my girls, right? Because they're at an age where they used when they're younger to eat even healthier foods, and now they're in a season where they don't necessarily want to have all the healthy foods that I would love for them to have. And so you do also want to install in them healthy habits by teaching them the importance of how the brain functions on their daily life. Now, obviously, in part of that, second reason is because it does take a hit on our cognitive function and our performance. I don't know how many of you have seen the TV ad for Snickers, right? Snickers candy bar, and it's a very grumpy person, and it's somebody who's like her, and it looks even like an ogre, and all of a sudden it takes a hit of a Snickers bar and back to normal and feeling amazing, right? Well, really, it's because our brain requires certain needs. Now, I'm not suggesting the Snickers bar at all. The sugars are not the brain's friend in terms of what sugars, right? Our brain needs lots of healthy fats, lots of proper sugars, right? And so for it to work, and it'll improve your cognitive function, your attention, your memory, even your academic performance, your peak performance at work. This is key to you having a healthy brain that works for you and allows you to achieve your highest potential thought or emotions. And so the way that we give it, and by consuming the right nutrients, for example, including antioxidants, healthy fats, proteins, complex carbohydrates, this is all going to provide necessary building blocks for our neurotransmitters. And it also is going to support the optimal brain function. Now, understand that to have proper cognitive function, our neurotransmitters, the neurochemicals in our brain, need to be what? In homeostasis. If you know me, you know what homeostasis means, right? That equilibrium within the different neurochemicals. And when we don't have the right equilibrium, we have the changes in our emotions. We have the lack of focus and attention. For example, you give me an activity without having had anything to eat, and I will have difficulty even producing the words. My frontal lobe needs the nutrition. So as soon as I know I can take care of my nutrition, and I place myself in the right position, to give what my body needs, then I'm able to quickly produce and memorize better and pay attention better and focus better. So nutrition is key to many of the functions that we're thinking every day. Is because due to age, everybody's about memory. Oh, memory. But have you thought about what nutrients you're giving your brain so that it improves the memory? What are you doing to really help your brain have better attention? What kind of, antioxidants and healthy fats are you giving your brain so that it can continue to work at an optimal level? And the problem is that we don't keep it steady. We tend to, have a good diet. I eat something good, then I eat something not so good, then I go and eat something good. And that's what's not necessarily keeping our functions in optimal health every single day. So for us to be able to achieve this, we certainly need to make a choice of making changes in our nutrition. Now, also that neurotransmitter balance is the third reason, right? So cognitive functions and performance, but also now how to keep our neurotransmitters in equilibrium. Our diet is key to that. How many times a day you're eating, what kinds of foods, what are you snacking on, how much sugars are you giving your brain versus how many healthy fats you're giving your brain. That alone is going to impact how your neurotransmitters are actually functioning within your body. So think of this: you are able with nutrition to impact the way you are thinking and feeling and acting. So let's make a decision as to, moving forward and saying, okay, what can I incorporate in my diet. And I know a lot of people talk about eliminate. Yes, I want you to eliminate, but I want you to first incorporate the healthy things so that you will notice and you will see that you will start taking away and continue to take away the things that are not benefiting your brain. And so honestly, a balanced diet, it's really necessary to synthesize, release, regulate our neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers, and they facilitate the communication between the brain cells. They are, the adequate intake of, let's say, amino acids and vitamins and minerals are really essential to maintaining our neurotransmitters balance and supporting it. So let's make sure that we support that as well. Now, nutrition also protects from oxidative stress. What does that mean? That means that, we're constantly stress oxidates our cells. Okay, and oxidation means deterioration, right? If the best way that we can understand oxidation is you cut an apple, leave it up on the countertop for a couple of minutes, and you'll see the difference. It starts getting all dark and brown. That is oxidation. That is what happens with our brain cells when we do not give the proper nutrition and add to the equation that we live in a stressful, scenario, that we live in stressful situations. So keeping nutrition at a key, at a balance, optimal, will help reduce the levels of oxidative stress. And how do we do that? Adding antioxidants, adding antioxidant rich foods to our diets, such as fruit, high vitamin C fruits and vegetables, some nuts. I love nuts. I know some people might be allergic, so do consider, some ways around that. But you can provide protection against that oxidative damage and reduce significantly the risk of neurodegenerative diseases and cognitive decline. How, if you understand that nutrition can do that for you and then help you think, feel, and act better, wouldn't you improve your nutrition? So let's start by understanding that it also, number five, it also reduces inflammation. Chronic inflammation in our body negatively impacts the brain and it contributes to neurodegenerative diseases. So for us to be able to think of how do I bring inflammation down? Now, how is inflammation caused? Inflammation is caused by high doses of sugar. Inflammation is caused by high levels of stress. Inflammation is caused by low levels of nutrition. So caused by the same things that we can take action against and make sure that we improve. And so including, again, the fatty fish, olive oil, leafy greens, all of those help reduce inflammation in our body. And then it helps our brain as a return. Any tissue that's swollen, right? And if we live under chronic inflammation, one thing that swells is our cortex. The last thing we want is a swollen cortex because it will not work properly. So we want to make sure that we add to that. I love berries, so that's like one of my go-to for making sure that I keep my, my contents in order. But again, I say fatty fish. Let me review that. Fatty fishes, olive oil, berries, leafy greens, some of the options. Now, on our program, Brain Smart, one of the things we do is we give you a list of things that you can start looking at. And what I do with this list is I take a big list and I start with what things I already love from that list that I can keep within my list. And then I say, okay, what others can I incorporate that maybe I've never tried before, but I've also loved to add to my food repertoire. And that way, I'm able to start reducing some of the things that shouldn't be in my, brain health list of nutrition uh, decisions, right? Or nutritional decisions. So, two more for you today before we go is energy production. Now, The same way that we talked about that, candy bar ad, is that, we think that energy comes just from the sugars, but really energy is going to come from the healthy carbohydrates and fats. So we need to make sure that we have a steady supply of energy for function, for optimal functioning. And so how we do that is by putting the right nutrients throughout the day, not just a spike of sugar. How many people do it? Just like the ad does, a spike of sugar. Yes, it's going to momentarily probably bring some energy up, but you will notice that it's not an essential energy. It's a push of energy that drops down immediately after, because it's not a healthy, sustainable, functional level of energy. And so your cells are going to be in homeostasis at then? No, it's not. It's only teaching your body to spike and live on a big spike. And then the downward spikes are going to be bigger than the upper, higher energy spikes, because every time you're going to need either more sugar or more boost. So for me, healthier, steadier, functional nutrition, it's going to be much more adequate for your energy production. And what does that mean? A brain that's producing good energy is a brain that's thinking well, acting well. It's able to perform ideally. It's able to fulfill your needs, fulfill your dreams, because you have enough energy to achieve it. So make sure you're supporting your brain function with what you're eating, and giving yourself nutrition for. And last but not least, honestly, nutrition is going to provide the neuroprotection and brain, avoid brain aging, if we could call it that, right? It certainly brings the neuroprotective properties that we need to help preserve our brain. Okay, it's going to reduce the risk of age-related cognitive decline. And what do we know about that? All the different dementias, but more than anything, Alzheimer's is the most popular and the one that most people know, and have heard about. But there's plenty of other neurodegenerative diseases that can be impacted because we're not protecting our brain adequately. So what do we do about that? I love, like I told you, my omega-3 fatty acids, and those you are going to find on your fatty fish, but I love them. Let me tell you something. I love them in walnuts. Just recently, I did one of the social media posts because I was eating my walnuts. And if you look at a walnut, have you looked at a walnut? It looks like a brain, because it has the right fatty acids for us. Flax seeds are another great source of those fatty acids, and they keep our brain in an optimal level to prevent. Now, if you are on your 20s and your 30s and you feel optimal right now, fantastic. You know what? The problem is that if you don't take care of your brain now, you're not going to be able to have it, last past your 50s. I had I have a friend who's a physical therapist, and he's in his late 20s, right? And one of the things that he was talking to me about, he gets to work a lot on senior uh, facilities, right? And he loves his job, but one day he came really stressed and told me, listen, the hardest thing is how many people in their 50s I have seen in the senior locations because of neurodegenerative diseases that should not be there. And that if people are taking care of themselves ahead of time, we can certainly slow the progress of any of these, for you to not be on a senior institution by your 50s. There is no need for that. On your 60s, there's no need for that. So let's start preventing and learning healthy ways of keeping our brain optimal. If you are young and you are listening to this, you are in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, you know what? This is the moment to make the change, because number one, is going to make you way more successful. Successful people have a healthy brain. They eat well, they eat healthy foods, they have access to healthy food. So let's make ourselves, conscious, and make the changes now, so that we can not only be effective now and optimal now, but that we can, oh, certainly surpass or extend our possibilities throughout life. And I hope that today has brought to you some insight. Understand that there's plenty of research that we can look through, that support this, but more than anything, support it for yourself. A healthy diet's gonna make you think, feel, and act better. And that is exactly my point here at Happy Brain, Happy Life. So I hope you have enjoyed today, and I hope that you send me your questions, send me your curiosities about the brain. I would love to include some of your questions in our next show. So see you soon.